Okay, it is happening as Trump is about to unleash hell on Putin, potentially, yes. Putin has rejected Trump's ceasefire deal. We'll get into all of this very shortly, but the crux of it is he's saying, why would we agree to this 30-day ceasefire when we have this massive offensive and we've got the Ukrainian troops on the run? We're also going to get into a lot of other things today, everything from Greenland, facial recognition cameras going up in the UK, which is a crazy one, Doge cancelling credit cards, nuclear meeting about to happen with China, Russia, Iran. There is absolutely tons to talk about, so let's get into it. Putin then has rejected Donald Trump's 30-day ceasefire agreement, saying he would only consider it if the West stops sending weapons, stops training Ukrainian troops, and pulls back on this stance that they want to send Western troops, predominantly British and French troops, into Ukraine. He said absolutely not, and that would be a deal breaker. So what's his stance and reason for this then? Well, he's saying that the 30 days will allow Ukrainian troops to regroup and to collate more weapons, especially after the pause has been lifted. We're still waiting on full confirmation of what that means, but the pause has been lifted right now. So this is what Putin is basically saying to Trump and the West. So with Russian troops advancing then, especially in Kursk region, what Putin's saying is, why would he agree to a ceasefire? And he made the statement that a ceasefire only benefits those who are in retreat and losing. So what has he said instead? He said rather than a ceasefire, that they should all focus on a long-standing peace agreement. Meanwhile, Zelensky has said that he will not acknowledge any territories that have been annexed by Russia under this ceasefire agreement, which has further angered Trump again. And if we look at the map on screen here, it is quite interesting. This is from the Institute for the Study of War, and we can see that Russia does indeed hold the cards right now. This is a solid front line stretching over 1,200 kilometers. So what could come next is a big escalation, and I don't mean between Ukraine and Russia here, I mean from the US. You'll see I'm sporting my US hat today, especially because the majority of my subscribers are from the United States now. I often get questions, why don't you talk about this? Why don't you talk about that? Because my subscriber base is in the United States. That's why a lot of the topics cover the United States. So what is this potential escalation then? Well, Trump said that if Russia rejects the ceasefire agreement that they've worked so hard to put together, then he's going to unleash hell in the form of economic sanctions against Russia. And the way he's describing it, he said, you haven't seen anything that's been done previously. So I don't know what that's going to look like, but if you think of what the US did under the last administration, basically kicking Russia off the SWIFT system, I mean, that's pretty severe. So I wonder what Trump has in mind this time around. Drop a comment below if you have any thoughts as to what he might do if Putin rejects the ceasefire agreement. And you'll remember this path from previous walk and talk videos I've done. I think over the winter while I've been away, they've really done a lot of work on the trees and things. But before we continue on with all the stories, there's so much more to inform you of. I just wanted to let you know I've got 2 new programs coming out very shortly. If you're on my email newsletter, well, if you're not, definitely get on there. So easy to do, the link's below. Just put your email in, you'll get a really detailed newsletter every single week, which involves finance and all sorts of other investment-based stuff as well. So definitely get on there. But if you are in the newsletter, which came out today, you'll find out all about the new programs that are coming out. You'll get early access there, and you'll get the lowest possible price as well. So just make sure you're subscribed there. Now, other news today is that the US has now resumed military support, or what they call military aid, to Ukraine. This has been brokered via the deal in Saudi Arabia, and the supplies are going to be going through Poland, which is interesting because Poland, the Polish Prime Minister, has also just requested that Donald Trump put nuclear weapons inside of Poland as a deterrent to Russia. So we'll have to see what actually happens there as to whether he agrees to that or not. But it would be somewhat of an aggressive position right now. So I'd be surprised if it's done right now, but it would be an aggressive position just as this peace agreement is trying to be made, or the ceasefire, the initial ceasefire, but with the intention of a prolonged peace agreement. And I think we will eventually get there to a peace agreement. It's just how long it actually takes. It is a beautiful day here, by the way. I'm back on the Isle of Man now, which is my main home. I tend to live here in the spring and summertime, and then do a lot of traveling in the fall or the autumn and winter. That's why you've been seeing me travel around so much. But got a lot going on at the moment. Also, I've got a couple of job vacancies as well. These are a social media manager, just to help me because I'm so busy and overwhelmed with the amount of work I do already. So I do need someone to help me with my social media, making posts for me, as well as a production manager to help me with getting more videos and content out there. At the moment, I'm only able to post 3 days a week or 3 times a week. And I read the comments, I know it's just not enough. So I do need some assistance there. You can go to my website, the link is below, McCoy-Ward.com, and you can see the 2 vacancies that you can apply for. Another infographic I saw today, which I thought was quite interesting, I'll throw it on screen here. This is active military personnel across NATO, plus Russia and Ukraine. So you can see that we have 1.5 million for Russia, 880,000 for Ukraine. Those numbers seem a little off to me, but I'm just giving you the official numbers here, which is from NATO, and then it shows 1.3 million for the US, and then the rest is other nations. But it really highlights to me that if the US did ever pull out of NATO, it would be catastrophic for NATO, and I think they probably would pull in Ukraine into NATO right away, just based on the sheer manpower that they have there. Although the manpower numbers have really dropped massively, they really have, as a result of this prolonged conflict that's been going on for several years now. And as I record this video here, there is a nuclear meeting going on in Beijing right now in China. That is between China, Russia and Iran. The whole purpose of the meeting is to focus on Iran's nuclear program and sanction relief. So this is being chaired by China today. Meanwhile, China, Russia and Iran have strengthened their military ties. They've just held naval drills around the Strait of Hormuz. And we also have Britain as well, who, this is a new one for me. The reason that Starmer seems to be really annoyed at the moment is because he's actually said that there was a deal made. There was already an arrangement with Ukraine, which wasn't signed. Again, this is why you got to get the contract signed, over Ukraine's minerals. So what Starmer has said is that the UK had an agreement, and that's why they're going to be putting troops in there for security and all these other things. So it makes sense now. A lot of us just thought he was a crazy man hell-bent on war, but it seems as though there was an ulterior motive behind that, and that was a minerals deal. But then I saw another story saying that actually the reason Starmer is so angry is because the UK did actually sign the mineral deal. It was a 100-year mineral deal. It was all done, it was all signed up, and the concern is that Zelensky is going to back out of this deal and cancel it in order to give it to the United States as well. So there seems to be a lot of conflict. Obviously there was tariffs as well. The UK, it's really hit the steel industry the most in the UK. And how has Starmer reacted to that? Well, he hasn't. He's basically just said, okay, well, never mind. We're not going to do anything about that. Another big one, which is also around resources. I know it's sort of promoted as being around security, but this is Greenland. So the whole sort of premise behind this is predicated on the fact that Greenland is needed for security, right? That's what they say. It's needed for security. But actually, it's about minerals and it's about energy and a lot of other things. So Trump actually met with Rutte, so NATO secretary, what do they call him? The defense secretary of NATO. And he said, well, what is this claim that Denmark has over Greenland? How legal is this? And he sort of expressed that he thinks that the US is going to annex Greenland, although the election just took place and the party, which is, there's just sort of right of center, I would describe them as politically, they went from an 8% all the way up to 30% of the vote. So they have actually won. They're the winning party now, and they're showing a lot of interest in independence and some sort of an arrangement with the United States. So this could work very well in the favor of the United States. Obviously not right now, because there's always a lead time with these things, but well into the future. And before I tell you about Doge and the credit cards and the facial recognition and everything else, just make sure that you are subscribed to the channel. It just takes a second to click that button. If you're watching on a TV, which I'm amazed 40% of people watch me on their TV, that was news to me. You might have to do it from your phone. You might have to subscribe from your phone, as some people have told me it's difficult from the TV. Okay, so Elon Musk then has announced that they've cancelled 200,000 government credit cards, which were responsible for the most amount of waste and money that they just couldn't track. So the total right now is 4.6 million government credit cards responsible for $40 billion of transactions. So they're looking to cut this right the way down. Another crazy thing that Doge just uncovered was 312 million US dollars of fraudulent COVID payments. These went to children under the age of 11, and when they wanted to launch an investigation into this, everyone signed up to it right away, but he's made the statement, he said this has been blocked by Democrats. So he said almost every single Democrat has voted against this. And it made me start asking, well, why on earth would they vote against it? Why would they vote against an investigation into most likely fraud? So someone who fraudulently got a payment. Why would they do that? That's the question that's definitely on my lips anyway. Okay, we're going to take a different direction through the woods here, but look at that. Isn't that a beautiful view right there? Just beautiful. That's how clouds are supposed to look, by the way. Okay, let me tell you about this crazy one that's just been announced then. So this is out of Cardiff Council. If you're not from the UK, Cardiff is the capital city of Wales, which is part of the United Kingdom. So what have they announced then? The government has announced the trial of facial recognition cameras for greater safety of the citizens. Huh? They're calling this program Zones of Safety, or that's what they're calling the zones of safety. And they said if successful, that they will roll this out to more cities around the United Kingdom. And of course, they've got to get one interview with some crazy woman. And this woman basically was exactly how you'd expect. Oh yes, I think we need these everywhere. We need these for everybody's safety. And then she got even more crazy and started saying, you know, some of the reasons why she thought we needed these cameras everywhere. And one of them was to stop violence and crime against new arrivals. And I was like, new arrivals? Is she talking about illegal migrants or something like that? Is that what she's talking about there? And I think the answer is yes. I think that is actually what she's saying. And you know, honestly, I think some of these people, honestly, I'm not joking when I say this. I think if the government told them they had to self-isolate, shall we say, or quarantine in their home for an indefinite amount of time to make new arrivals feel safe, or just some crazy, I'm making this up here, but you know, it's just some crazy thing to make other people feel, that's the sort of person that would just stay in their home. I mean, some of these people are wild and crazy, the sort of ideologies and the viewpoints that they actually have. I mean, I honestly think that some people will just never wake up. I really think that they are NPCs fast asleep. They're never going to wake up, because you've only got to look at the people who are in prison right now for social media posts after the government released, released a couple thousand prisoners who'd done some pretty serious crimes, and they put people in prison who made social media posts, and you see how upside down that is. And yet people are like, no, I think that's a great idea. That is completely, yep, I'm good with that. And now they think facial recognition cameras everywhere are also a good idea, and they just don't see the relevance of any Orwellian sort of connotations to that at all. And then you might say, well, how on earth are they going to do this? Where are they going to get all the data from? They've already got it. What do you think passports and your driving license and other databases like this are going to be used for? The government already has all this information. Willingly, we gave them all of this information, which I'm not against when you have a good government, but some of these governments are just crazy now, and they're going to get more crazy. And that's another reason I'm sporting my US flag today on my hat. Oh, I just went right down in the mud. Wow, I almost lost my foot there. Hold on, I've got to show you this. Look at that. Look at that. And yeah, I do think maybe a couple of the US policies at the moment might go too far. A few of them probably will go too far, but then they'll balance out a little bit later. That's what I think is going to happen. They'll push it a little bit too far, and then they'll balance it out later on. But I'm going to continue my walk here then. Just remember, subscribe, make sure your notifications are turned on, and most importantly, make sure that you are getting my email. Make sure you're on the email newsletter. Very, very important. And apart from that, thanks so much for being online. Take care. God bless you. God bless your families, and I'll see you on the next one. We get some really big storms over here, and this is the aftermath. Wow. What a beautiful day.